courage only grows after you take the step, not before. Choices can define you, right? And like I said, it's not always the big choice. It's those little choices you do daily, minute by minute. Yep. What are you going to choose to grow, or are you just going to choose to, shrink back? And those just start to create habits in the way you think, and the way you becomes how you believe, and right, and then your belief becomes how you act around the world.
Yeah.
So I think those are the thing, right? Identify the doubt, find evidence, challenge it, and then act anyway. Yeah. Have courage to act anyway.
So today we wanted to talk about what to do with doubt. And, right before we hit record, we were talking real quick about the upcoming game and stuff like that, which I got to say, I've been having a lot of fun being a Vigilante fan from afar. So I feel like I need a hoodie or something just so I can really get into it. But I'm watching the score online while you guys are playing. I was like, come on, guys. Keep going. You're making me nervous. So anyway, but yeah, you were just talking about the conversation with your kiddo about that, but I'd love to, because I think people have heard a little bit about you guys' football season and stuff like that. But you're in the playoffs. You've won 2 games now in the playoffs. You're in is it semifinals? Like, what is it?
Semifinals.
Nice. So the last of 4 remaining teams. So
right. It's our football coach yesterday in the our end of the practice huddle was talking about how, because there's also there's a lot of classes, right? There's class class A, class AA, B, C, all that, but he kind of put it in like a perspective where like you're one of 800 kids that are still playing football. And you know what I mean? It felt, I think there's some weight to that the kids felt, that hopefully what he was really trying to push for was just having an attitude of gratitude about just be grateful. We all get to play another week together, and we'll come to practice having that mentality of playing, lining up next to your brothers another week and doing something that, honestly, man, we are in uncharted waters as a team, right? Like last year we had a first round exit, and this year not only did we win our first playoff game, we hosted one for the first time, right?
Yeah.
And and then we just won our second game, which was amazing. It was a dogfight, but it was a team that we faced early on in the year, and we kind of blew them out. But you know how hard it is to play a team the second time. They just for us to maybe have the mentality of like, we've played these guys before, but we still got to respect them. Right, we still got to respect our opponent. They might have something new for us, and they did. I mean, they came out playing, and I think for us it was good that we kind of got in that dogfight a little bit, and was resilient through it, and came out on top. Really, like it was a good game.
Nice.
Yeah. Nice. So this week we are playing a opponent that hasn't lost in 22 games, right? They're the defending Class A state champions. They just, everybody pretty much kind of chalks them up as, the repeats of this year. So, and they have some good players. To be honest, they got some good football players on their team. And my son came in the other day and he just had a like a poor practice. I don't know if his attitude was there. It was just it was poor, and he practiced like it, and he knew it, and so and like I think I was like really annoyed with it when I was at practice yesterday because everything I just said in the beginning, like where's your attitude of gratitude? If you have that, I think you would change your attitude. And he's working on it, man. He's a high schooler. He's a junior. And it's something that hopefully he'll reflect on and snap out of it a little bit better. But he came into my office as I was kind of reading, and he talked about that. He was just basically like, he's like, man, Dad, I don't like. I'm kind of doubting myself, and like it's just like a little bit of confidence, lacking some confidence in if he's going to be able to, you know, uh, block the guy. Mostly his thing is about he's playing a position where he changed in the middle of the year from left tackle, which is something he's played throughout his whole, you know, high school career. I mean, and even in his like small fry years, he played left tackle to left guard, which requires a lot of pulling and getting to the second level. Just there's a lot more mobility in that position, and they've got, like I said, they got a really good player on the other side of the ball, that a linebacker that just really kind of just plugs gaps and flows really fast. And so he just kind of talked to me about just kind of like that piece that we're talking about, which is doubt, right? And so yeah, we just kind of unpacked it a little bit, like, what do you what are you doubting, like, and what it boiled down to is just it was just this feeling of uncertainty, some hesitation, just questioning, right? And it wasn't and it wasn't about doubting the team or you know like what like the like his belief in what the team can accomplish. It was just self-doubt, like he had a concussion. Well, he felt like he had a concussion, and I think he did. Again, like halfway through the season, doing during a pulling, like he was pulling, and a linebacker lit him up, and and he told me that he was that was probably one of the reasons why he was kind of doubting himself, was just like you know getting hit and like taking one to the dome again, and also that sometimes he doesn't know what he's like doing, like fully. He doesn't
Mm.
understand what he's doing.
Yeah, it's not
And
super intuitive for him yet.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And so and then we kind of just talked about taking care of the parts where not as taking care of, but mostly when you're unclear about something, that it's okay to ask questions. Like it's all, that's part of it, right? Like I don't think doubt is a sign of weakness. It's a sign that you're thinking and you're questioning and you're wanting to grow, right? Because we all face doubt, and I just tried to like share even my own. I don't know. I try to be all parabolistic with my kids sometimes, and sharing my own journeys of football and being undersized and going against big guys, that everybody kind of just faces doubt. And I was telling them, like, you don't think they're doubting when they watch film and they see you, like they wear they put their pants on one leg at a time. They put their shoulder pants on too, and I think that kind of stuck with them, about like, oh, it's just right, like you just got to go out there and do it. at the end of the day, and get your questions answered so you're dialed in and you're not hesitant and uncertain. Because, going out there and Vince Lombardi once said that you can't play hard and aggressive when you're confused, right? And so you gotta take care of that. That part you can do, and that's why we practice every week. But you can't waste a practice moping around when you're having a bad day. You got it's like I said the other week. So what now? What, right? Okay, you got beat on a play. Football doesn't let you like
Can't dwell on that. Yeah.
meander. Like you gotta go, bro, or you're gonna get hurt, right? So, yeah, that was kind of what kind of I brought this up for me, and um, I think that's kind of why I wanted to talk about it, what to do with doubt, and not just how to make it go away.
Hmm.
Like, how do you respond to it, right? Um, I, for for some middle schoolers, sometimes like they can think of things like they come into my office and I hear words like, "Am I good enough for this team?" or "Am I good enough to be part of some group? Will my friends still like me? Like, what if I fail a test?" Like, those are all the things that like what doubt do, right? And so um, I think that's kind of why I wanted to talk about this. So yeah, I felt like I've been talking a lot about you know my own personal um, stuff about yesterday and about football and doubts there. How about yourself, man? Like, what are some things? What do you do with doubt when doubt appears?
Hmm. I was trying to think the different areas that the doubt creeps up because I think there's part of it where people all the time talk about imposter syndrome or right things like that where it's am I good enough to be in this room? Am I good enough to be on this team? Am I what am I doing here? Uh, and realizing that I think everybody has a seed of that, like you're saying. You don't think that you're putting doubt in their minds when they're watching film? Like they're watching Ty Sebastian on the other side of the ball, and they're like, "Oh no, we're gonna have to. He's gonna be a problem, right?"
Yeah,
And so I think probably the people that are not that way are maybe narcissistic and think they're God's gift to humanity, pride and different things. You know what I mean? Like I think
yeah,
that there's some health to I think there's humility, but the problem is if it's when people say, "Well, I'm not good at anything," I think that's when it becomes for me the dangerous side, right? When I'm maybe not prepared about something, and you know that you're not prepared about something, that's one thing, and I think you addressed that beautifully. It's like, yeah, that's why we practice. That's why you're studying the playbook. That's why you're watching film. I mean, it's all about preparing, being ready, right? And so there's that aspect of it. But I think the other piece of doubt that I see, I guess, in myself is when I go from I'm not prepared or what am I doing here to I'm terrible at everything. And it's easy to go down that slope pretty fast, right? I heard a friend of mine, what do you call it? He called it the slope of terribleness or the slope of awfulness or something like that, where your brain starts like compounding those things because I had a bad practice, therefore I'm a bad player. Because I'm a bad player, right? I'm letting my team down, right? And it just goes layers and layers deep with doubt instead of pulling yourself out of that and being like you're saying, like the gratitude for being there. I guess on a side note, one of my favorite players to watch in the NFL is George Kittle, just because like every time he gets lit up, like he just has this, he bounces up and he's like, "Woo, that was fun," like he just has this smile on his face, like that was the funnest thing that ever happened to him. Like that looked like it hurt. Um, yeah, I don't know why I went there, but the opposite, I guess, of that would be believe. Did you ever watch Ted Lasso? It's
yeah,
okay,
yeah.
yeah. It's one of those shows that I'm like, I can't like recommend it, but I can't not because it's Like, I really wish that there was. It seemed like there was two writers, and one of the writers was terrible, and one writer was really good. And so you watch the episodes, and you're like, "Wow, that was really good." And then you watch another episode, you're like, "What happened? Like, this is dumb. This has nothing to do with anything." I'll just say that was the I decided to be Ted Lasso for Halloween, and the whole premise of his thing is believe, right? And there's one scene where he runs upstairs because Nate was one of his coaches. Like, I don't know if we can do it, and so he's like, he runs upstairs, grabs this believe sign off of his bathroom mirror, and runs back downstairs. He's like, "Does this ring a bell? Does this ring a bell, Nate? We got to believe. We got to, we have to have the attitude that we can do this no matter what." So
Yeah. Yeah.
it's easier said than done, right? But it's having that, and it's funny because I'm actually going to be talking about this in like a couple hours. I'm doing this presentation on positive attitude, and I think there's two extremes, right? You've got one extreme where you get toxic positivity. I think people talk about that,
Mm.
right? Where it's everything's sunshine and rainbows, there are no problems, and you just kind of stick your head in the sand, and the world just happens, and that isn't good. But the thing that's worse than toxic toxic positivity is toxic negativity, right? I'd much rather be around somebody that's toxically positive, that's a little off kilter, than somebody that's just negative all the time, because the attitude that you have, like you're saying, like that attitude is the thing that's contagious. And I think especially as leaders, if we are not aware of that, like how we are coming across and the energy that we're putting out there through the rest of the team, the rest of the team feels it. It's a
Yeah.
thermometer thermostat thing, right? When people that are leaders have a bad day, it's not that you can't have a bad day. It's that you have to realize, okay, this bad day that I'm having, I can't have two in a row. I have to pull myself out. I've got to
Right.
get myself in the right mindset because people are counting on me to do that because everybody's taking their cue from me. If I'm down, everybody's going to be down. And so I think that's maybe part of the doubt thing is realizing that there's some responsibility that rests on my shoulders for whatever it is. And if I'm second guessing it, so I mean, for example, if Coach came in the locker room and he's like, "I don't know, guys, I think we're screwed against Spillings," right? Like that would be detrimental to the team because they're counting on Coach to say, "No, here's the weaknesses they have, here's the strengths that we have, here's how we can beat them," right?
Right.
Um, so yeah,
I think that like I had this thought in my head today, or actually, um, maybe it was Sunday, where as a team we got to figure out two things, right? Just whether we're going to be a team that is focused on faith, our belief, right? Like Ted Lasso, like, or are we going to be a team that's based on the facts, right? They're undefeated. They haven't been beaten in a while, right? They got their stats might look a little bit better than ours, right? Those are all facts, but faith says at the end of the day is, hey, it's when it says 15 minutes and we're kicking the ball off, all those facts don't matter no more. Like we're going. Like, can we play harder? Can we communicate the message that hey, the vigilantes are here to play. Like we're ready to go, and we've prepared all week for you. So, I think that's one of the things that I was like really thinking about this week. Before the game would come up and practice and all that and game planning is that. So, I you brought up like imposter syndrome sometimes, and I think that like along with a lot of emotions that come our way, like anxiety is like a big emotion that comes in. I think anxiety comes in, and doubt it almost looks the same, anxiety and doubt, uh, because like it's the emotions that, like I was saying, last time, right? Like, am I good enough? Or like, you know, my friends don't like me. Like, I think like we have to understand like why doubt shows up. I don't know if that makes I don't know if
Yeah.
that makes
No,
sense.
yeah, unpack that a little bit more because if it's anxiety, like or is anxiety kind of like the trigger for doubt?
Yeah,
Is that what you're saying? Yeah.
yeah. Anxiety is kind of the trick. Well, those are the thoughts that usually comes out when
Mm.
kids come into my office. It's like, uh, I have ADHD, and I'm like, okay, I I, I get it. I think that we all experience anxiety as human beings. We're all human beings. So tell me about like why. Tell me more about your anxiety. Like, what are you anxious about? And that's what it is. It goes into doubt. It very um, right. Like, and I have to figure out when I'm talking to a student, and and instead of just leaning on a diagnosis as the reason that, how do I put this? Leaning on a diagnosis as a reason not to push yourself.
Mm. Yeah. Yes.
I don't know if does that make sense? Like,
Oh yeah.
that's how it feels sometimes. It's, oh, I have this, so I guess this is how it's gonna be. Um, I I I'm very much like, how do I counsel a student to say that, not how, I mean, I do, this is what I do. I'm like a counselor coach at heart, right? I try to communicate that, you know, why doubt shows up. Well, doubt appears a lot of times right before, like, you're at like this tipping point of either you're going to grow or challenge yourself, or you're just going to sit back and rely on what some expert told you about this. Right? Like, or you're going to, it's either you're going to think that it's your brain's way of saying, hey, are you sure you're ready for something like this? Right? um it can be something that's like protective, right? Which is the other side of it. Like, it can hold us back, and that can just take over, right? It's two ways. There's, um right, what do we do with doubt? What do we do with this? What are you going to do? What choice are you going to make? Right? And I try to, a lot of times, reframe what to do with doubt, what
Mm.
to do with anxiety, right? And it's a lot of, instead of I can't, is like, so what can you learn from this, right?
Mm, that's really good.
Uh, well, like, I'll never do X, Y, and Z. I'll never be able to do that. Well, never be able to do, or you haven't learned it yet,
Yeah.
right?
Those are
It's like, you know
different.
what I mean? That's
Yeah.
what doubt can kill progress more
Hmm.
than anything, right? Because it's just like a lot of emotions get tied in with doubt, anxiety, depression, right? Like, when you are not confident in your skills or who you are and what you're all about, um, you know, you don't have a, we talked about this, a certain set of core values that you have faith in and you believe in. Well, like, you can get tossed everywhere. Like, you have no clarity, right? And I see that a lot with our kids, and it's natural. I mean, they're middle schoolers, um, and I wish that we had, like, they, as much as I enjoy my job, and I like doing this, that shouldn't come from a school counselor.
Yeah, I agree.
It shouldn't come from a teacher. Um, can we be those people who are on the same journey that are like, yeah, let's keep going. Yeah, we can be those guys, on the sideline, but your source should be from home, right? I think teachers and people who work in the schools, I think a lot of times, like parents send their kids to school and say, hey, like you do it all. Like not like teachers are really there to teach you, you know, math and English, and not how to not talk back, how to uh, not how to be less entitled. Right? Like that's not really our job. We like that should happen at home, and teachers and people and counselors and staff should be the ones reinforcing what is said at home.
Hmm. Yeah.
That's all we're supposed to do. Yeah, and I don't know. I don't really subscribe to the whole like it takes a village. No, it takes your parents and the village, right? And then everybody else is like, right? You will know children by the fruits.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Because I totally agree with that. I think a lot of times people abdicate their responsibility. And it's true with lots of things. And the problem that I see, which is why I love having this conversation, because in a lot of the companies that I work with, these are the parents. And so it doesn't surprise me that their kids would act this way because I know the stuff that they're going through and they didn't learn it from their parents, or they didn't, you know what I mean? Like they didn't get that either. And so even just that I think there's two things. Like I'm hearing, like one is like you were saying, like well, I have ADHD, so therefore whatever. It's like, okay, well, that's somebody's opinion and it means pretty much nothing. So it's kind of like you're the football team. Like, so what? Now what? Like, okay, so what are we gonna do about that? What does that have to do with this? Right?
What does that
Like,
have to do with turning in your work?
exactly. Exactly. It's like, wait a minute. So we're using this as a crutch, as an excuse to then let everything else in our life happen. So I think that's part of it. I think the other is kind of the self-limiting thing. And we've talked about this a lot because there's not a heavy enough load put on you. Or you haven't had opportunity. There's so many times where I'll talk to not middle schoolers, but grown adults, and they'll say something like, "Oh, I could never do that," or "I would never do that." Why? And I just like, oh, like, why not? Have you just not had the opportunity, the desire? Because a lot of times people like have a desire to do. Now that'd be really cool if I could do whatever. It's like, okay, well, why don't you do that? But then the doubt, the self-limiting belief, the different pieces of it that come into play is super detrimental. So the the thing I was thinking about when you were talking about all of that, because as I was thinking about from the parents' lens, right, from this leadership perspective in companies, and how do you help parents pull out of stuff and put the responsibility and the weight of that responsibility back on them? It was an interesting conversation I had with my cousin Kevin this last week, and we were talking. So I'm in the middle of writing this software. One of the things I want to do with it, so it's for companies, right? It's for companies to be able to like set goals and milestones and objectives and increase accountability and visibility and all this stuff. But one of the things I want to do with it, because what I do with teams every year, which is coming up pretty soon, when I do annual planning sessions, is I actually ask for the individuals to start writing goals down. And we've talked about this before, right? It's less than 40% of this poll that I did, people that raised their hands and said, yeah, I have goals. So as I was talking to my cousin Kevin, and he said, well, I don't think most people know what they want. I said, I agree with that. I 100% agree with that.
Right.
And so his perspective was, well, then isn't that a waste of time? I said, no, because my thought is that the goal is the thing that changes your mindset around something.
Mm, mm.
It's
Ooh.
not that necessarily you're going to hit it all the time. In fact, most goals that I set, I don't hit. But what it does do is it changes my brain to think, how can I do something? Right.
Yeah.
And it's, if you go back and there's tons of books on it, right? Magic of Thinking Big, or that's probably one of my favorites. But it's, as you set goals and you start setting those things, then it starts to activate the brain to go figure it out. How are we going to
Yeah.
do this? Right.
Yeah.
And I think when we don't do that with people, then what is the default mode of most people? Well, the default mode is Cheetos, beer, pizza, video games. Like that is the default mode of most people because nobody's pushed them to think, well, okay, what would it be? So, because I think that's the first step. What is the goal? And again, like we talk about in sports, that's easy. The goal is state championship. Okay. That might feel overwhelming. And now we've got a bigger opponent in front of us that we've ever faced before. Okay. Brett, like you said, okay, that's the facts. But the goal is still the goal,
Right.
right? So the goal is
Right.
still, and everything and everybody's brain, and that's where the doubt and all the things are cropping up because now it's okay. Well, if I'm going to hit this goal, what do I have? Who do I have to become? What do we collectively as the team need to become in order to achieve this goal? Well, we got to change some things. And what does that mean? That means we're going to get uncomfortable. That means we have to, right? There's a lot of things that means. And I think in people's lives too, that's the other aspect of it. Because when I start to unpack that with people that have never written goals down, and it's amazing. I'll sit with people that are in their 40s or 50s, and I'm starting to ask these questions. What is an ideal life look like for you at this stage of your life? Because the thing Kevin was saying, he said, even when I set goals 10 years ago, these are not the same goals that I have today. I said, well, yeah, Kevin, that's the point, because you're further down the road now. But if you are constantly setting those goals, you're constantly putting stuff out in front of you that you are constantly striving and pushing and expanding and getting better for, that is a much better life stance than not,
Right.
than just existing and whatever. And so I think it goes back to the motivators. And we've talked about this in previous podcasts before as well. And I think that's the biggest, in my opinion, that's the biggest disconnect for most people is because they don't have a target that they're aiming at. They are literally like meandering and wandering aimlessly through life.
Yeah.
And it's difficult in a school system where you're forced to be there, right?
Yeah.
And I would imagine that the kids that you're having a hard time with, their parents didn't like being forced to go to school either.
Right.
I would imagine, right? Because the other thing that I think the goals do is one is it expands your mind, like I was saying. The other is it actually gives you that sense of autonomy over your life, that going to the doubt, anxious, anxiety, it's because if the society, teachers, parents, if they're telling you this is as good as it's going to be and your goal is to do what? Well, I've got to graduate school. Okay, that's the target. You're going to graduate high school. Then what? I don't know. It's like, okay, right? There's nothing that's compelling you. There's nothing that's driving you. There's nothing that's forcing you to be better.
Yeah.
And because of that, I think that's where I think that's honestly where I think where a lot of that anxiety comes from. Because if you don't know where you're going, like yeah, that's anxiety. Or even if you start going down the path, that's a different type of anxiety. Like I was telling a lot of different people about our Machu Picchu trip, and one friend from London, he'd be fun to have on the podcast. Um, but he's like, oh man, like that sounds terrifying. I don't know if I could ever do that. I said, well, I think you could, but it would require something of you that you've never done before, right? It's going to require something of you. And I think that every time we have a new goal, we have a new ambition, desire, whatever, it's going to require more of us. And so that is another aspect, I think, where it comes in. Like, am I willing to give up that in order to do this?
Sure. Yeah.
Just the thoughts I've been having the last week or so about it. But
I think those are really good thoughts, man. And doubt is can creep in like from multiple directions. Like you know what I mean? It's a um and I think reading the word it can be like that what's the what's the one where he's talking about the unleavened like unleavened bread and that little bit of yeast can like
Mm. Yeah,
it
yeah.
can expand, like it expands like just a little bit, right? And that can be like I said, it can come from multiple places, um, and it can paralyze you sometimes, right? Well, meet you, like I don't think I could ever do that. Well, I mean, like that mindset can go either way. Okay, fine, then you can't. Or like what you said, it's going to require you to do some things that you've never had, and you gotta have to stretch yourself.
Hmm.
I think those are the choices you have to make. Are you going to press in? Like I said, I don't think doubt is bad. I think we all experience it. It's what we do with it. It's a choice we make coming out of the doubt. What do we do with doubt, right? And a lot of times, as a counselor, uh, I think trying to trying to get into like reframing is a lot of what I do, right? So like for some practical things that I try with kids and even not just with students, but with players that I coach, um, even with myself when I look in the mirror sometimes and have myself talk. Uh, there's practical strategies that I try to imply. Right, number one, identify the doubt. Right, whenever I say I don't think I can, right, I have to be aware of it. Self awareness. Right. Second one, I try to ask kids is like uh, is this true? And try to find evidence um, that challenges the doubt, right? Um, to hopefully get to the point where I'm saying or the kids are saying, but I've done hard things before,
Ooh, that's
right?
good. Ooh, that's really good.
Right?
Yeah.
And kids, well, I really haven't done. I was like, the very fact that you can stand up and you can walk, that's evidence. Or you'd
Yeah.
still be crawling around. And
Yeah.
like, it's amazing how kids are like, oh yeah. It's like, yeah, we can do hard things. And then like the last one, and I've talked about this a lot, is, and it's actually going to be a huddle principle that we'll
Ooh.
we'll
Yeah.
focus on is well, this month is perseverance, next month is courage, right? Which is that last step, meaning act anyway.
Mm, yeah, yeah.
Because courage only grows after you take the step,
Yeah.
not before.
Yeah. And if you shrink back from it, it actually does the opposite, right?
Does the opposite.
Yeah.
It's amazing how like what cho- choices can define you, right? And like I said, it's not always the big choice. It's those little choices you do daily, minute by minute. What are you going to do? Are you going to choose to grow, or are you just going to choose to, shrink back? Right. And those just start to create habits in the way you think, and the way you think it becomes how you believe, and right. And then your belief becomes how you act around the world. So I think those are the thing, right? Identify the doubt, find evidence to challenge it, and then act anyway. Have
Yeah.
courage to act anyway.
Ooh, that's good. Because and when you were saying that, I had this thought that doubt is the default. I think that's where everybody goes. It's like, well, therefore I have this doubt, therefore it's true. It's like, no, no, that's just the default setting. But
Right.
faith requires activation, right? The ability to get
Yes.
up and go is something that, yeah, requires courage, requires perseverance. It's
Yeah.
make
I
it happen.
mean, yeah, yeah, dude. We've been doubting since the beginning.
Right.
That's
Yeah.
why we're in this mess right now. Is
Yeah.
because somebody doubted that God was not good. Like he's not. He's holding something back from us. You know what I mean? Like,
Hmm.
man.
Yeah.
So I think it brings me to a point where I believe that faith and doubt, they can coexist, right? It's part of just developing as a person who is a follower of Christ, right? Um, and and I like to say that I'm a strong believer, but I still experience doubt.
Yeah.
It's I think it's a part of developing like the deeper trust in Him, right? Um, and right, and then again, how can I find evidence about the um I can find evidence by reflecting all the things that God has taken me through, right? And then I can find it biblically where Thomas is famous for, they called him Thomas the doubter. Like, like the man saw miracles with his own eyes and he still doubted. So if a guy like that can doubt, you know what I mean? It's like you said, it's a default in us as humans, um to kind of have that, like, I don't know. And I think that, faith is just it isn't the absence of, right, it's not the absence of doubt, it's the choice to move forward in spite of it,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And even you were saying there, I can't remember the scripture, but there's somebody comes to Jesus and Jesus is essentially saying everything's possible for those that believe. And the response is, hey, I believe, but help my unbelief.
help my unbelief.
Right. I believe, like, yeah, I do have faith. I do believe, but I also have this doubt, right? I also have this thing in the back of my head, help my unbelief, because that's the thing that I think we're battling all the time, right? It's like, yeah, I believe this is possible. And so if you come full circle with the football team, so yeah, I believe we can win. Coach, you got to help my unbelief. What are we doing here? How are we going to pull this off?
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, that's good.
for sure.
What things are you, I mean, I'm going to just hit you with this one. What things are you struggling with right now in your own life? Doubt things. Is it around this huddle thing that you're doing? Is it?
Yeah. I mean, there's always doubt with that, right? Like, I'm putting in, some work into something that I believe will help kids out.
Yeah.
It's not like going to be the end all be all, but at least it's, I believe it's going to be a powerful seed for them. Because, right, it goes back to what I was telling you in the beginning, where like their source for morality and, values in life it has to come from the home.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I also feel that we can reflect and we can model some of those things as teachers and counselors. When we teach these lessons, I wholeheartedly hope that teachers can share themselves, like their own experiences. It's what that second part, that second thing, finding evidence, right? Like sharing evidence, their personal evidence with students about persevering through something. Um, and then again, act like acting it out, being courageous through it. Um, so yeah, always. Like me, um, putting forth this huddle curriculum is me choosing to accept the challenge and to grow despite, is this going to work? Is this stuff good enough? I have to overcome that with faith and action. So, uh, of course, that, I there's a lot of things that I doubt myself. There's self doubt that creeps up that I have to challenge on a daily basis, right? Um, as a counselor, am I really helping these kids? Like, man, sometimes I don't feel qualified to do this. Um, like why is my administrator asking me about this? Like, I have no idea. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Uh, um, coach, like why is this happening when this happens? And I'm like, bro, like you got to give me more information. Like what do we? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
but my first instinct is, man, I don't know, right? And so I have to combat it with asking more questions, right? I want to be clear with what it is that you're trying to ask me, right? So, and then like, you know, being a dad, what like when my son and I were, man, I was just hot yesterday about the whole situation. Like we were eating at the dinner table, I couldn't even like, I could, I didn't want to like say anything because I would say it out of just emotion. So I just had to kind of like, bite my lip and like, but it came out eventually. Yeah, like right after dinner when we weren't in close quarters, so I wouldn't
Yeah.
be jumping on him about it. Um, and then like afterwards, when he went downstairs, and I can see that he's tearing up about it. Uh, and he's going downstairs, and my wife and I are talking on the couch, and I go, "Babe, was I a little hard on him, or like what? Like what? Like was that too much?" There it is. Doubt. I'm doubting myself as a dad. You know what I mean? Like, and yeah, and then of course, just, like as a uh, as a husband too, right? Am I am I supporting you in um some of the challenges that you're going through? And then I think lastly, and I think the most important is, you know, is that I got to work out my faith daily. I got to exercise it daily because daily there's doubt, right? Lord, but I believe, Lord, I believe. Teach, like, help me with my unbelief. So yeah,
Oh yeah, I,
those
I was
are,
thinking the same thing when I was thinking about that. There's so many times where, especially when it comes to discipline with my kids, and I'm like, okay, was that the right call? And I know I've shared this story before with my dad when we were over in the UK hanging out, and he was like, I don't know if I could raise the kids that way. I was like, we're gonna find out. We're gonna find out if this is the best method or not. But
yeah,
uh, but I think it's also like having that feedback too. Because one thing, I was talking to Peyton about this last night. Something happened, and so he wanted to go isolate. Like he was feeling bad about a situation, and so right, you collapse in on yourself and you go isolate, which is the worst thing to do. Because when there is doubt, one of the antidotes that I see is like you just did with Kelly, when you're just like, babe, is this like was I too much? Was that a little overboard? And maybe it is sometimes. And is that feedback loop for you to say, okay, yeah, and you're like, okay, all right. So same thing, like huddle play huddle. I guess here's the thing that I need to shift this way. Okay, I'm not gonna bring it up at dinner. I'm gonna bite my lip at dinner next time. And it was like you did, right? So those types of things, and having relationships that you can bounce stuff off of. Be like,
oh,
man,
for sure,
is this good? Is this not? What am I doing here? Should this be part of it? Which is why I know, obviously, I appreciate our friendship because we get to bounce the stuff off each other, the stuff all the time. Or like even when I was talking about my cousin Kevin, we bounce stuff off of each other all the time,
yeah,
and we disagree on a lot of stuff, which is even better, right? So that it really sharpens you, and not to. And I think the other part of it too is I've heard it said one time that there's danger in listening to everybody's feedback, and also danger in listening to nobody's feedback. And so there's sometimes where people will, I call it confidence with ignorance, or they have a high degree of confidence, but they don't know what they're talking about. And if you listen to that advice, right, where it puts doubt, and you're like, oh man, well, what am I thinking then, right? And that's not healthy either. So being able to have the relationships in your life that you trust have your best interest in mind, that you can bounce stuff off of and get some feedback. Am I on the right
Right.
track? Because
Yeah.
sometimes you're not, right? Sometimes you do need somebody to help see a different perspective than you do and rein you in a little bit and say, we missed the mark here. Let's
Yeah.
do this instead or whatever.
Well,
Um,
well, that's what you do, Jay. Right? That's what you do. You're a consultant. That's what coaches do. That's
that's
why
true.
people
Yeah.
hire personal coaches. Is right. They have someone that has their best interest in mind, and I'm hoping that if you hire a personal coach that they're willing to actually yes they're getting paid for it, but also develop a rapport with you and a relationship with you to where when things get hard, they're going to tell you their perspective based on benefit something that they feel will benefit you, right? Like
Yeah.
I mean,
For
it's
sure.
I'm sure it's probably a $1 billion industry, personal coaching, and you
Probably.
know what I
Yeah.
mean. I
Well,
self like
that's why it is a total tangent, but kind of not. With the curriculum that you're putting together, because the thing that you say, and I agree with you, is it's parents that need this stuff. It's not necessarily. I mean, yeah, you're developing it for schools for things like that, but the thing that I see is like, man, this is stuff that parents need, where they right because and it'd be fun to explore this at some point, like taking all this curriculum and then developing it for parents, because
yeah,
there's a lot of parents that don't feel like I didn't feel like I was qualified to be a parent. You have your kid, and you're like, oh no, now what? Um,
yeah,
and I think that the reason, so if I think like the consultant thing, I think the reason that I feel like I can bring a lot of value is because I've seen lots of things. A lot of times when people, they're owner of the company, they see their company. And so they don't see other perspectives and other ways and things. And the same way, it's like, okay, I just have my kids. And if they don't coach, if they're not around other kids, right? Is this normal? Is this not? Like when, Peyton kind of freaked out last night and I was teasing him a little bit right after he kind of got grounded and came back to his self. Where I was like, dude, you're 12 going on 13 and your body is just going to get so many hormones and if you, it was Inside Out too. I don't know if you saw that one
no,
where,
I have.
okay. So it's basically that whole like journey of like going through puberty and all the hormones that come in. And so did you ever see Inside Out, the original one? And it's just like, okay, great movies because they really like speak to different things in terms of like emotion and whatever. But there's a part of it where somebody's like, "Oh, I'll control the brain," and she's just like, "Oh yeah, this thing's totally broken." Like there's no rationality right now. And so he was laughing about that. But all to say, man, I think I see a huge need. And I think you do as well. I think I see a huge need, not just in parenting, but I think in dads. I think that there's a lot of fathers out there that are biologically related, but they don't. It's not that I don't think that they care. I think that's the thing. I think that there is such a doubt that they're going to screw their kid up because maybe they got hurt by their dad, right? And like it's all this trickle down thing. And it's not going to be like a Brene Brown is not going to be the person to speak to that diesel mechanic, right?
Sure.
but uh but somebody who's a football player would,
Mm,
right? Because
yeah,
it's yeah, you're gonna get hit. That's the point. It's
yeah,
gonna be hard. That's the point. And so what do? We make a mistake. Great. Like you're saying with football, you don't have time as a dad to just like stew on that for a week. You got to get back out there and you got to get back in the game. So I don't know, man. Like that's the thing that I
yeah,
see is maybe it's just an encouragement that as you're putting this stuff together, like yes, I see the lens of school, teacher, that kind of thing, but I think the bigger lens that I see is parents, specifically dads, because if this could get in the hands of dads that need it, that
yeah,
could let their guard down a little bit, like dude, it'd be revolutionary. So
yeah. Oh, dude, that's man. That's that sure is encouraging. And like honestly, man, like when you said something about like parents, it's been on my mind on how do I reach the source, reach
Yeah.
the influence, the main influencers of students. Um, and like I don't know, you just kind of the Holy Spirit just really
Mm.
started working when he started talking about that, and almost validating is the right. See, did you see that right there? That was doubt right there. Oh man, it almost snuck in. Like, uh, but that that's what I feel that I can I do want to have a huddle for parents, or not maybe if not even just a huddle, but more having and using social media, because I know a lot of parent like that's how we can get a lot of parents' attention. And having like a huddle, a minute or two, sharing what we're talking about and gearing
Oh
it
yeah.
towards like parents, and this is what I can encourage you to think about and talk about when you're at home, right?
Mm,
This month
yeah.
is about perseverance, right? And like here I don't know if here's a couple practical things we can talk about, like you can talk about at home with your kid or whatever it is, just something that I hope is another seed, another powerful seed for parents of our community. You know, so yeah, man. Our we've been talking a lot about like um, how we get knocked down and get back up. That's part of my huddle. Like so, like in the huddle, I have there. I kind of start off with a little film snippet of whatever it is that connects,
Nice.
and the portion of the film is that Rocky. I don't know if you've
Yeah.
seen the Rocky quote where he says that you know it's not about life is going to hit you hard, right? But it's not about how hard you get hit. It's about how hard you get hit and keep getting back up
Mm, right.
and moving forward. And then it said like a phrase where it said like um, along the lines of um, like you have to stop blaming everything what they said, what he said, because that's not you. That's what cowards do, and that's not you.
Mm, yeah.
And then obviously that's where we cut it off, and then now we have a discussion about it. What does this mean? What does it mean about getting knocked down, getting back up? And then I also, right, and then like after they have that discussion, right, because I use media a lot, right, and so the next part of it is a song, and there's a lot of songs that I could have used, but I chose a song called I don't know if you ever heard of Sia,
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
and she has a song called Elastic Heart,
Okay.
right?
Nice.
And the song talks a lot about stretching, right? Like, and it's in those stretches that you won't see me break down because I'm stretching through this,
Mm,
right? And having that, what does it mean to have an elastic heart, right? A lot of times, like in the times that we're going through, and this is probably what main reason why I chose this song is that we're so we get so offended really easy these days, right? Like anything can offend us, and it can just put us in this like box of frustration and anger. Um, but and that's okay, and that's fine, right? But at the same time, um, we are so easily offended that we lose our humanity in there, right? We're so locked into opinions and the offense that we can't. Sometimes it's hard for us to climb out of it, um and here I say all that to say is that we've become like a society where we're thin skinned and we're hard hearted, right? And we need to reverse that, right? We need to be thick-skinned, soft-hearted. We right? We have to have that a little bit of the armor up so that we can take the blows and say, okay, what's going on, and be able to reflect in those moments and to take on the challenge and keep moving forward, right? So yeah, I think that is yeah, that's kind of, I say all that because I was talking about the huddle and what I try to communicate through the content that's in it, and hopefully making it stick a little bit more. But yeah, I really want to, yeah, think about developing like I don't know if it's going to be a quick 2 minute snap about what the lesson is and how to, I don't know. I have to think through it, and
Yeah.
yeah.
No. Yeah, for sure. It just, it makes me, I mean, that makes me excited because I think it really does, because I think that you're right. If you can tap into the source and get to the root of the issue, right? Then I think that the downstream effects of that are going to be huge.